For almost 8 years, I thought the letters were harmless. Every Friday afternoon, one arrived. No return address. No company name. No explanation. Just my wife's name written neatly across the envelope. Claire Morgan. At first, I never asked questions. Claire had always been a private person. We had been married for 12 years, and I trusted her. But there was something strange about those letters. She never opened them in front of me. The moment she saw one, she would take it upstairs. Sometimes she stayed there for 10 minutes. Sometimes an hour. And every time she came back, she acted as if nothing had happened. I noticed other things too. She started checking the windows before going to bed. She began keeping her phone beside her even while showering. And whenever someone knocked on our front door unexpectedly, she would freeze. I told myself I was imagining things. Then one Friday afternoon, everything changed. I was working from home when I heard the mail slot open. A few seconds later, I heard Claire gasp. I walked into the hallway. She was standing beside the front door, holding an envelope. Her face had gone completely white. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Nothing." She tried to put the envelope behind her back. I smiled. "Claire, I've seen these letters for years. Why are you suddenly hiding one?" She didn't answer. "Who sends them?" "No one important." "Then why do you look terrified?" Her eyes met mine. For a moment, I thought she was going to tell me everything. Instead, she whispered, "Please don't ask me about this." Then she walked upstairs. I stood there alone. That was the first time I realized the letters weren't harmless. Something was happening. And my wife was determined to keep me away from it. The following Friday, I waited near the window. At exactly 4:15, a man in a dark coat walked toward our house. He didn't look like a normal mail carrier. He stopped at our mailbox. Placed the envelope inside. Then stood there for several seconds, staring directly at our house. I moved away from the window. A few moments later, Claire came downstairs. She opened the mailbox. The man was already gone. She looked at the envelope. Then she looked toward me. I pretended I hadn't seen anything. That evening, I asked casually, "Did you ever wonder who sends those letters?" She continued washing the dishes. "No, you never tried to find out?" "No, that doesn't make sense." She turned around. "David, please." "What?" "Some things are better left alone." I stared at her. "Is someone threatening you?" "No, are you in trouble?" "No, then what is it?" She looked away. "I can't tell you." That sentence hurt more than anything else. We had been married 12 years. I thought there were no secrets between us. Apparently, I was wrong. The next Friday, Claire left the house at 3:30. She said she was going to the grocery store. I watched her car disappear down the street. At 4:15, the same man appeared. This time, he didn't put the letter in the mailbox. He walked directly to our front door. I froze. He knocked twice. I opened the door. The man looked at me. He seemed surprised. "You're not Claire." "No," he looked at the envelope in his hand. Then at me. "Are you her husband?" "Yes." He didn't answer. "Who are you?" He took one step backward. Then he handed me the envelope. "Make sure she reads this." "What is it?" He didn't respond. "Who sends these letters?" He looked at me for several seconds. Then he said, "Someone who has been waiting a very long time." Before I could ask another question, he walked away. I closed the door. The envelope felt heavier than it should have. Claire returned 20 minutes later. The moment she saw the envelope in my hand, she stopped. Her grocery bags fell to the floor. "Where did you get that?" "He came here." "Who?" "The man who delivers your letters." Her face changed. "You spoke to him?" "Yes." "What did he say?" "He said someone has been waiting a very long time." Claire covered her mouth. Then she started crying. I'd never seen her cry like that. I walked toward her. "Claire, what is happening?" She shook her head. "I was trying to protect you." "From what?" She didn't answer. "From who?" Still nothing. I picked up the envelope. Then I'm opening it. "David, don't." I tore it open. There was only one piece of paper inside. One sentence. "You have until next Friday to tell your husband what happened on October 14th. I stared at the date. October 14th. I knew that date. It was the day Claire and I had first met. I looked at her. "What happened on October 14th? She sat down slowly. For several seconds, she said nothing. Then she whispered, "That wasn't the first day we met." I felt my stomach drop. "What?" "We met before that." "When?" She looked at me with tears in her eyes. 7 years earlier. I couldn't speak. "Where?" "At a hospital." "What were you doing there?" She lowered her head. "I was visiting someone." "Who?" She looked up. And then she said a name I'd never heard before. "Thomas." My heart began pounding. "Who is Thomas?" Claire closed her eyes. "My first husband." I stared at her. "You were married before me?" She nodded. "But that's not the worst part." "What could possibly be worse?" She reached into a drawer and pulled out an old photograph. She placed it on the table. It showed Claire standing beside a man I'd never seen. Between them was a little boy. I picked up the photograph. "Who's the child?" Claire's voice broke. "My son." I looked at her. "You told me you never had children." "I know." "Where is he?" She didn't answer. Then she looked toward the window. "That's why the letters started." I felt a cold shiver move through me. "Where is your son, Claire?" She finally whispered, "I don't know." At that exact moment, someone knocked on our front door. 3 slow knocks. Claire looked at me. Then at the door. She whispered, "Don't open it." But the knocking came again. And this time, a man's voice came from the other side. "Claire," he paused. I think it's time he knew the truth. The knocking came again. 3 slow knocks. Claire grabbed my arm. "David, don't open that door." I looked at her. "You said you don't know where your son is." "I don't." "Then who is outside?" Her eyes filled with tears. "I don't know." The man knocked again. "Claire, I know you're in there." I moved toward the door. Claire pulled me back. "Please." I stopped. Then the voice came again. "You have until midnight." I looked through the window. The man was standing beneath the porch light. He was older than I expected. Gray hair. Dark coat. And something about his face seemed strangely familiar. I opened the door. Claire shouted my name. The man looked directly at me. "David Morgan?" "Yes." "My name is Thomas." Claire gasped behind me. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Thomas looked at Claire. "You never told him." Claire shook her head. "I was going to." "When?" "Soon." Thomas gave a bitter smile. "You've been saying that for 12 years. I turned toward Claire. 12 years? Thomas stepped inside. Claire didn't stop him. He placed an old photograph on the table. It showed Claire, Thomas, and the same little boy from the photograph I'd seen earlier. The boy was about 6 years old. "His name is Daniel," Thomas said. I looked at Claire. "Where is he?" Thomas didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked at the clock. "Before I tell you, you need to understand why those letters were sent." I crossed my arms. "I'm listening." Thomas sat down. "Claire and I were married when we were very young. We had Daniel after 2 years. What happened? Claire left." Claire lowered her head. "I didn't leave because I wanted to." Thomas looked at her. "Tell him." Claire wiped her eyes. "Daniel was sick." I frowned. "How sick?" "He had a heart condition." Thomas continued. "He needed surgery. We didn't have the money." Claire looked at me. I was desperate. "So what did you do?" "I borrowed money." "From whom?" She hesitated. "A man named Victor Hale." Thomas's expression changed. "Victor didn't lend money." Claire nodded. "He made a deal." "What deal?" "He said he would pay for Daniel's surgery if I disappeared." I stared at her. "Why?" "Because Victor was involved with my family." I didn't understand. "What does your family have to do with him?" Claire looked at Thomas. Then back at me. "My father had discovered that Victor was stealing money from his company." The room went silent. Thomas continued. "Victor threatened Claire's family. He told her that if she didn't disappear, Daniel would never receive the surgery." I looked at Claire. "So you left your son?" "I thought I was saving him." "What happened?" Thomas's voice became quieter. "Daniel received the surgery." I breathed out. "Then why don't you know where he is?" Thomas looked at me. "Because Victor took him." I froze. "What?" "He told us the boy would be safe." Claire began crying. "He disappeared with Daniel." "Why didn't you go to the police?" "We tried." Thomas pulled an old newspaper clipping from his pocket. Victor had people everywhere. The article was about a missing child. The photograph was Daniel. My stomach turned. "You've been looking for him ever since?" "Yes." "Then why did you send the letters to Claire?" Thomas looked at her. "Because she stopped answering my calls." Claire whispered, "I was afraid." "Afraid of what?" "Afraid that Victor would find us." I stood up. "Why did you marry me?" Claire looked at me. "At first, because I wanted a normal life." "And later?" "Because I loved you." I wanted to believe her. But 12 years of lies were sitting between us. Then Thomas said, "There's something else." I looked at him. "What?" "The letters weren't from me." Claire looked confused. "What?" Thomas shook his head. "I never sent those letters." The room went silent. I picked up the latest envelope. "Then who did?" Thomas looked at the handwriting. His face changed. "I know this handwriting." "Whose?" He whispered, "Victor." Claire stood up. "No," Thomas nodded. "It's him." I looked at the letter again. "You said Victor disappeared years ago." "He did." "Then how is he sending letters?" Thomas didn't answer. My phone suddenly rang. Unknown number. I answered. A man's voice said, "Hello, David." I froze. "Who is this?" "You've been asking too many questions." Claire covered her mouth. Thomas stood up. The voice continued. "You have something that belongs to me." "What?" "A photograph." I looked at the old photograph on the table. The one of Daniel. How do you know about that? The man laughed. Because I took it. The call ended. Thomas immediately grabbed his coat. We have to leave. Why? Now. Claire didn't move. Where are we going? To the house. What house? Thomas looked at me. Where Daniel lived before he disappeared. We drove for almost an hour. The house stood outside the city. It was abandoned. The windows were broken. The garden was completely overgrown. Thomas stopped the car. This is where Victor kept Daniel. I stared at the house. How do you know? Because I found it once. When? 6 years ago. What happened? I went inside. And? He was gone. We entered through the back door. The house smelled damp. Thomas led us down a hallway. Then stopped. There. A small bedroom. Inside were children's drawings on the wall. One drawing showed a little boy standing beside a woman. Underneath it was written, "Mommy will come back." Claire began crying. She touched the drawing. I never stopped thinking about him. Thomas opened a closet. Behind the clothes was a small wooden box. Inside were letters. Dozens of them. All addressed to Claire. She picked one up. Why didn't I receive these? Thomas looked at her. Because Victor intercepted them. I opened another letter. It was written by Daniel. The handwriting was childish. It said, "Dear Mom, I don't know why you left me. But I'm still waiting." Claire collapsed into a chair. I held her. Then I noticed something on the bottom of the box. A recent photograph. I picked it up. My heart stopped. It showed Daniel as an adult. He was standing beside a building. On the back was a date. 3 weeks ago. Thomas looked at the photograph. That's impossible. Why? Because Daniel died. Claire looked up. What? Thomas's face was pale. The police told us he died when he was 16. I looked at the photograph again. The man in it looked about 25. Then I noticed the building behind him. It was a hotel. The name was visible. The Westbridge Hotel. My phone rang again. Unknown number. I answered. The same voice spoke. Now you know where to find him. Who are you? A pause. Then, you've been looking for the wrong man. The line went dead. We drove to the hotel. The receptionist checked the photograph. Yes, she said. I know him. Claire grabbed the counter. Where is he? The receptionist looked uncomfortable. He checked out an hour ago. Did he leave a message? She hesitated. Yes. She handed me an envelope. My name was written on it. I opened it. Inside was a single piece of paper. David, I know you think you're looking for Daniel. But Daniel isn't the one who needs saving. Your wife is. I looked up. Claire was gone. Thomas was standing beside the entrance. Where's Claire? He looked outside. A black car was pulling away. Thomas ran toward the door. I followed. We watched the car disappear down the street. My phone rang again. This time, there was no voice. Only a recorded message. Claire's voice. David, she was crying. I'm sorry. Then she whispered, don't come looking for me. The recording ended. I looked at Thomas. Where did they take her? Thomas stared at the empty road. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. Victor doesn't have her. Then who does? Thomas looked at me. Daniel.